Good morning. I used to read a lot when I was a kid. I read fantasy books mostly, Harry Potter, Ranger's Apprentice, The Chronicles of Narnia. Each story took place in a unique world with its own plot and its own characters, but every book that I read shared one common aspect. They each had a hero, a knight in shining armor, unmatched in his prowess, noble and strong, respected by all, loved by all. All my life, I've yearned to be that main character. I desired to be the best at something. It didn't really matter exactly what that thing was, just that I was great at it. So great that everyone would associate me with that thing and be in awe at my ability, just like the amazement I used to feel for the heroes that I read about when I was a kid. Alas, I was disappointed. At every turn, I was met by the inexorable barrier of mediocrity. I was decent at many things, but exceptional at nothing. I became only more painfully aware of my ineptitude when I arrived at SEBS. In every one of my peers, I saw and still see excellence. It was especially noticeable on the field and on the court. Never had I felt so small than when I stood next to Jack Williams in 7th grade, looked up, and thought, "Oh my God, it's Taco Fall!" Yes, my inner dialogue has an Indian accent. But seriously, I felt like a nobody. How else was I supposed to feel when one of the kids in my class would one day be selected 4th overall in the NHL draft? My insecurity, as insecurity often does, transformed into jealousy. I began to wonder what it was like to be that guy. Everyone knows that guy. He's the guy that people naturally gravitate towards. Put him alone at a lunch table, and I guarantee within 2 minutes that table will be overflowing. Everything he says is funny, and a charisma and charm flows through him that even adults can't help but become livelier in his presence. He gets invited to all the parties, and if anything crazy happens over the weekend, he's the first to know. But most of all, everyone notices when he leaves. Why can't I be funny like that guy? Why don't I get invited to parties like that guy? Why can't I be liked like that guy? Why can't I be that guy? Why does no one notice when I leave? Last year was hard. I lost my girlfriend at over 2.5 years due to my immaturity and inability to handle my emotions. Someone who I thought was my friend sucker punched me in the face, and the resulting fight which ensued caused an irreparable wound in my Needham hometown friend group. And the people who I used to call my closest friends became mere acquaintances. And in this time when I was drowning socially, the ferocity of junior year and the dark and stormy cloud of college admissions already looming over me pulled me only deeper underwater. It all culminated with varsity basketball tryouts. There I stood, neon penny over my shirt, as I expectantly waited for my name to be called. But it never was. I rushed into the car. I didn't speak one word to my dad on the drive home. I went to the bathroom, turned on the shower, and curled up on the cold tile floor and cried. I sobbed. In my head, I replayed over and over all the mistakes I had made, the shots I had missed. I felt so humiliated. Junior year, and I couldn't make it past first cuts. First cuts. I was a failure. I was at one of the lowest points of my life. But that's when something clicked. I remembered math. See, I was at a critical point, what Miss Collini would call a relative minimum, which meant my slope was at 0. Now, for those of you who have taken calculus, you know that when a certain point has a slope of 0, and is deemed a local minimum, there's only one way for your graph to trend, and that's up. I grabbed a hold of this irrefutable logic, aka a positive mindset, and I held on tightly. I stopped criticizing myself for my past actions and thinking about what could have been, and began to live in the present, using my past mistakes as lessons for the future. Prompted by my parents, I began to initiate hangouts with my SEBS friends, and as a result, I've become exponentially closer with them over the past year. Most importantly, I finally faced my nemesis, jealousy. I discovered that my envy's kryptonite is acceptance. Not acceptance that what someone else has, not acceptance of having something that I don't, not acceptance of someone else having something that I don't, but acceptance that what someone else has nothing to do with me. I may never be as strong as James Joyce, or as athletic as Pichet, as funny as Liam Field, Jack McHugh, or as smart as Rafe or Chase. And that's okay. That doesn't make me less of a person. Now when I witness others, especially my friends, being great at whatever it is that they do, I smile and I praise them. After all, excellence should be admired and appreciated, not resented. The message of the speech is simple. First, we all go through stuff. You're not alone. I was never chronically depressed, but there were times in my high school career that I was quite unhappy. More often than not, I would suppress these emotions. They made me feel weak, but the only thing that was weak was me, for being too scared to confront my own feelings. That fateful day last year when I got cut from the basketball team, I stood in front of a mirror, looked myself dead in the eyes, and said, "You're not happy. Why?" Asking myself why led me to realize I was holding myself to an impossible standard, to some fairy tale hero from the books I used to read. And I must be the perfect student, athlete, friend, and son. Now, I work hard to keep a positive mindset, especially when I make mistakes. A prime example of this is my recent endeavor as the backup soccer goalie, where I make a lot of mistakes. Take Saturday, for example, when from the bench I told Kellen, the killer, Kilmartin, to relax, to which he rightfully responded something along the lines of, "Sit down and be quiet, waterboy." Fair. Secondly, don't make life a competition. Celebrate your peers' success, and don't compare. This is something I struggle with and probably always will, but I'm working every day to accept my imperfection. Finally, some thank yous. Mr. Burke, thank you. Father Arns, thank you. Members of the faculty, Mr. Riemann, Ms. Collini, Mrs. Wiggin, Mr. Ryan, Mr. Lynch, Coach Moore, Mr. Chambers, Mr. Groman, Rob, thank you. Fellow students, class of 2024, Mocha PGB, Neil, Cam, thank you. Invited guests, Grandma, Nani, Mom, Dad, thank you. Remember to smile. God bless.